Hello class and welcome to our lecture, Islamic Teachings. Now whenever I speak to my classes about Islamic teachings, I like to begin with this quote from the second chapter of the Quran because it reveals to us kind of the ideal virtues of a Muslim. So it is written here, the truly good are those who believe in God and the last day, in the angels, the scripture, and the prophets, who give away some of their wealth, however much they cherish it, to their relatives, to orphans, the needy, travelers, and beggars, and to liberate those in bondage. Those who keep up the prayer and pay the prescribed alms, who keep pledges whenever they make them, who are steadfast in misfortune, adversity, and times of danger. These are the ones who are true, and it is they who are aware of God. So let's analyze this quote a little bit closer. So what does a Muslim believe? Well, a Muslim believes in the one God, the last day or the judgment, the angels or jinn, in the scripture and the prophets. The ideal Muslim is also one who engages in charity, who give away some of their wealth and pay the prescribed alms. That a Muslim is one who engages actively in prayer. And the ideal Muslim is one who is just or righteous, one who actively liberates those in bondage, who keeps pledges or are honest and trustworthy, and are steadfast in times of misfortune and adversity. So again, just a paragraph that reveals some of the ideal virtues of what it means to be a Muslim. So with this in mind, let's talk about 5 major themes of Islamic teaching. So again, the Quran discusses many different subjects, but for the sake of this presentation, because this is an introductory religious studies class, we will concentrate upon 5 major themes. The teachings regarding Allah, the prophets, charity, the Ummah, and teachings on judgment. So let's start with the first major theme, that of Allah. So the Quran emphasizes that there is one God, Allah, and Islamic theology, like Judaism, is strictly monotheistic, and therefore the Quran denies the Christian concept of Trinity. And Allah is depicted in the Quran as an all-powerful, all-present, all-knowing, all-benevolent, and perfectly just deity. So as is written in the Quran, if we pay attention to the highlighted portions, Allah is depicted as most benevolent and ever merciful, as almighty and all-wise, the giver of life and death who has power over everything, is transcendent or beyond the realm of space and time, but is also immanent or completely present in space and time, and that Allah is all-knowing and has knowledge of everything. And according to the Quran, Allah has an adversary, and this adversary is the jinn or angel named Iblis or Satan. Now, how did Iblis become Allah's adversary? Well, unlike the other benevolent jinn or angels, Iblis refused to bow to the first man, Adam. That is, Allah creates the first man, tells the angels to bow before the first man, and Iblis refuses to do so. So therefore, Iblis is not a Muslim because he refused to submit to the will of Allah, and as a result, Iblis was banished from heaven and he vowed to tempt humanity away from the straight path. And this brings us to our second teaching regarding the prophets. So the Quran acknowledges the Hanif or monotheistic prophets of the book. And in response to Iblis' threat, Allah sends prophets or messengers to lead humans to the straight path. Because remember, Iblis said, I will lead humanity astray. So Allah sends prophets or these messengers to reorient people back onto the straight path of submission. And the Quran mentions several prophets of the book or the Bible, such as Noah, Abraham, Sarah, Moses, Mary, and Jesus, to name a few. So as it is written in the 57th chapter of the Quran, it is he who sends down splendid revelations to his votary, that he may take you out of darkness into light, for surely God is gracious and kind to you. We sent Noah and Abraham and gave prophethood to their progeny and the book, and some of them are well directed, but many of them are disobedient. Then in their train we sent our apostles, and succeeding them Jesus, son of Mary, and gave him the gospel, and put into the hearts of his followers compassion and kindness. Now, according to the Quran, these prophets, one, were all Muslims. Why? Because they are those who submit to the will of Allah, and because they preach the path of peace. And this brings us to our third teaching, charity. So the Quran emphasizes that one of the signs of submission to the will of Allah is through giving charity. So in addition to spiritual obligations such as prayer, Muslims also have a moral duty to the community. So as it is written in the Quran, have you seen him who denies the day of judgment? It is he who pushes the orphan away and does not induce others to feed the needy. Woe to those who pray, but who are oblivious of their moral duties, who dissimulate and withhold things of common use from others. And this brings us to our fourth teaching, the Ummah. So the Quran discusses this Ummah, or this religious community of Muslims, which is the ideal society of peace where all citizens are united in submission to the will of Allah. And if the Ummah were to be fully realized, it is believed that there would be perfect peace and justice in the world, because there's no longer conflict between, for example, my will and your will, but rather we are all united in submission to the will of God. And this brings us to our fifth and final theme, the judgment. So the Quran discusses the coming of the end of days and the final judgment, and it is believed that at the end of history, Allah will judge each person according to his or her deeds. And those who refuse to submit to Allah will be punished with eternal torment in hell, whereas those who do submit will be eternally rewarded in paradise. So in conclusion, in the Islamic tradition, there is one all-powerful, all-benevolent God, Allah, who will judge humanity at the end of time. 2. The fallen angel, Iblis, strives to lead humanity away from the path of righteousness. And in response, Allah sends prophets to the world to lead humanity back on the straight path. And being on the straight path means that Muslims must submit to the will of Allah, which entails prayer, giving to charity, and supporting the Ummah.